Thank you for coming all this way.
Thank you for having me. I'm honestly so stoked.
Oh,
and it made me
you.
realize, like, oh yeah, it's really important to leave your house. I don't leave my house enough.
I mean, you really left your house. You drove 8 hours, 9 hours, something like that?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Well, let me tell you, I was in the zone.
Yeah.
I was in the zone.
Did you have podcasts or anything like that?
I had hella podcasts.
Okay.
I was living a dream. Yeah, and then honestly, I was listening to some of your previous podcasts and episodes and stuff, and that was pretty fun, and kind of getting a
lay of the land.
Lay of the land. Like things I knew, but also things I didn't know.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like a lot of the conversations that you've had can start off with, you were born in Russia.
Yes.
You moved to Richmond when you were 7. And then went to a private school for 2 years.
Yes.
And
yeah. Wow, you've really done your research.
I really dug in. 9 hours, baby. Got time. And then transitioned to public school. But even the private school was pretty immigrant heavy.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And then kind of jumping ahead a little bit, you have friends who are doing comedy sports. You get it and you're like, this is pretty cool, maybe I'll try it out.
Yeah.
And you joined comedy sports in high school.
I do.
You get a ton of stage time.
I really do. Every weekend.
Every weekend.
But sometimes 2 shows a weekend.
Wow. As a high schooler.
And performing for adults. So like not even just, because we had a high school league, but it was open to everybody. So a lot of adults would just come, sometimes with their kids, sometimes not, as like, this is our fun comedy thing to do.
Yeah.
Because it would be, because we were small enough that sometimes the high schoolers, once you were deemed like good enough, you could perform with the adults. So it was crazy. Whoa. I was like working professionally, I mean, but not being paid like $20. but yeah, in high school.
That is wild. And I mean, I guess when you look at that whole landscape, right, how do you think that that mix of an immigrant upbringing in Richmond has influenced your voice, your comedic voice, and your perspective?
That's a great question. I mean, I think I would say the best version is it's made me weirder.
Cool.
You know, or I guess maybe more comfortable being weirder, simply because so much of like American culture, Southern culture, I just was learning while like living in it, and a lot of it I found, I don't know, maybe because it wasn't like, oh, this is just the way everybody lives, I was able to see it as stranger than what other people saw it, so therefore my strangeness felt normal to me. I guess it just made me more comfortable with being different.
Yeah. And then, I mean, in the same sense, you were surrounded by other immigrant kids, right? So when you're surrounded by, or you meet other immigrant comedians, do you feel that sense of connection? Do you feel like, oh, we have a different but similar strangeness about us?
I don't know about the strangeness, but I definitely, I mean, I think it's, and maybe it's because, maybe it's part of like the immigrant story, but I find that other immigrant comedians are like very locked in, hardworking in a way that I would like to say I am. So I think we have that same kind of like mindset, but honestly anybody working at a professional level does.
Yeah.
So as soon as I say that, I'm like, it's not really true. But there is kind of like an unspoken understanding.
Yeah.
Right? In a way that anybody who has a similar experience to you of like being dropped in a new world and not knowing what the norms and culture is, speaks to a person.
Yeah, honestly, I feel that, I connect to that, you know, as an immigrant myself. And I remember the first moment moving to the U.S. and seeing The Simpsons in English instead of Swahili and being like, what is this? You know?
Wow.
Yeah. Did you feel a shift in media or in the intake that you were having?
So because I was 7, before that, I also moved in the 90s, so it's like, you know, there's no social media, so really the only media was TV, and in Russia, like, I don't even think we had a TV, or if we did, it was like, didn't really work, and I didn't watch it, so really there was kind of no media intake that I really remember until moving to the US. And the thing I still find now that's kind of interesting is I don't have the same, even though, like, so for example, even though I was here in the US during like the OJ trial and, you know, like I remember even seeing like the white Bronco on TV, but I don't really, I didn't understand at the time like what a cultural like moment that was for people.
Right.
And so there's a lot of like cultural moments that I was living and a part of, but haven't like made the impression on me that they have for other people.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that checks out for me too. Yeah, just with movies.
Yeah.
Catching up with movies later.
Yes.
Things that people just grew up with. Star Wars. Didn't watch Star Wars till I was like 23 maybe.
Same.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Indiana Jones, I think.
Yeah.
I still have never seen Jurassic Park.
Okay, well, wow. Now you're just trying to do a world record kind of thing. Like, how long can I go?
Yeah.
Probably when they make the 8th one, I feel like you'll have to circle back and do like a Fast and Furious thing.
I mean, at this point, I know. I feel like having not seen it, it's enough of like a cultural touch point that I'm like, I bet I know the movie.
Yeah. Actually, yeah. Let's like go to the next phase, right? There's high school, and then you go to UVA, and you're like, trying out for the improv team.
Yes.
It's not happening.
I'm like, how do you know all this? But I guess I've spoken about it.
Yes, and I've peered into the corners of your interviews. But yeah, you're at UVA. You want to start an improv team, and you start one with Sasheer Zamata. And how did it feel to go out on your own? Because I feel like so much of your story is really about making your own space and tenacity. You know.
Yes, and classic improv phrase. So a little bit more of the backstory with that is, at UVA, there was, when I first started there was just one improv group called the Weathermen. And I remember, because having done improv in high school, having done comedy sports, the thing I was most excited about for college was joining the college improv group. And I remember I just tried out over and over again. So every semester you can try out. So I tried out, and I kept getting called back, but I could never like land, the gig, I guess. And really all of it is frankly a credit to Sasheer. So Sasheer and I were in the same position. So we kept trying out. We would always make it to callbacks, but we would never make it to the team. And there was one, I think at the last audition before we formed our own team, she then reached out to me and she was like, "You're the funniest person at all of these things." And I was like, "I think you're the funniest." And she was like, "Well, it's kind of stupid that we aren't chosen for this." And, I'm not going to be like, how do I want to say this? I'm not going to say that this is what was happening, but the facts are that there was only one girl ever on the team. So it did feel like they're like, "Oh, we have room for one girl." And so while there's one girl here, there's kind of no, you guys aren't basically going to get in, is the way kind of we read the tea leaves. And so she was like, "Let's just do our own." And I was like, "So sure, are we allowed to do that? Like, I think it's just the one." And she was like, "Who cares? Let's just do what we want." And we did, and it still exists there today. And it became kind of like the weirdo like freaks team, like the Weathermen were like the traditional kind of I would say more bro-y, group, and I don't know what it is now, but that's what it felt like at the time. And we were these kind of outcasts who had put this weirdo troupe together, and it was one, like the best experience of my life at college, and two, did teach me that I was like, oh, just because the industry or whatever these like institutions say no doesn't mean you don't get to do the thing that you want to do. And it was really her that made me think it was okay. Amuse-bouche, right? Amuse-bouche, Amuse-bouche. And now it's just called Bouche, which I'm like, that's trendy. Way cooler. Yeah.
I love it. But even just, what a great name starting off, especially for the freak team.
Yeah. Well, we were trying to come up with a name, and it was the word of the day was Amuse-bouche. And it, literally translates to like amusement of the mouth. And perfect. We were like, that's laughter.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
And then when Sam joined on, that really felt like, okay, now this is a team.
Yes, well, because that was the first, so because we were these outcasts, no one, if they got offered both spots, no one would ever pick us. We were B team, So it was like, basically it's like I can go to Harvard or I can go to the community college. I'm going to go to Harvard.
Yeah.
And so so it had been like a few years that this had been happening, and Sam was the first person who got offered slots at both and actually chose us. And I remember our jaws were on the floor. We had to play it really cool to be like, wait, I remember this was, because I remember he called me because I think I was like the president of the team at the time, and we've talked about it now in hindsight. But at the time, I was like, I'm not gonna like really force our, like how important it is that he joins us. I'm gonna play it really cool and just like tell him why I think we're a good choice, but I'm not gonna, force it. And years later, he was like, I just wanted you to like beg me to join. Because I was already gonna choose you, but I just wanted to feel really wanted. Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's so stupid, because I was like, I don't want to make him feel like he has to choose us. Yeah. Where the truth was, we were so desperate for him to join because we loved him and thought he was so talented. Yeah. And once he did that, it we got the wind in our sails and felt like we could be unstoppable.
That's beautiful. Do y'all ever do like reunion chats? Just like, isn't it crazy where all of our careers are now?
All the time.
That's
amazing. I just got invited to his wedding. I can't wait.
Oh, congrats.
Yeah.
To Sam.
To Sam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So incredible. So then you get your English degree at UVA.
Yep.
And you still want to go to New York.
I do. And I want to go to New York, so I knew, I was still studying, and I knew that I would want to have some sort of a professional job, just because I was scared to pursue theater right away or performance right away. And I secretly was like, but I'm going to go to Chicago, because Chicago had been the place I had known as like the beacon for improv. Right. If you want to do improv, you go there. And then in college, our improv team was doing this festival in North Carolina, and there was a team there called Death by Ruru, and they blew my mind. And I remember turning to Sasheer and being like, well, wherever they're performing, that's where I have to go. Right. And then I found out that they were performing in New York at UCB, at the Upright Citizens Brigade Theater. And so then I locked in to going to New York.
Wow. Mm-hmm. And so you're like, okay, I have this English degree. I'm going to go to New York. I'm going to Teach for America.
So then I was like, okay, well, how do I get a job in New York? And at the time, Teach for America was recruiting. I feel like they still do it, like at all the colleges. So I remember I was like, well, if I do this, they could potentially place me in New York, Chicago, or LA, which are, again, like the hubs for entertainment. Yeah. So I applied and then just also happened to get New York. So it kind of felt like, oh, well, great. That's exactly where I wanted to go. Mm-hmm.
Did you list New York, LA, and Chicago as?
And that was truly the order. Yeah, it was like New York was number 1. I think Chicago was number 2, and then LA was number 3.
Do you ever think about what it would have been like if you'd ended up in Chicago or LA instead?
Totally. I mean, I think in many ways it probably would be similar in that, like, I know I would have done improv in Chicago or LA. And if anything, I'm like, I wonder what it would be like if I went to LA, because then I feel like I would be more plugged into the TV industry and the movie industry there. But everything's like a what if.
Yeah. Yeah, there's like a Sylvia Plath quote about wanting to live all of these lives and being so despondent that she won't get to experience everything that she ever wants to.
Yeah.
I feel that. Mm-hmm. But also there's a lot of joy in decisiveness,
Yes.
Because then you get to go deeper in where you are and what you're doing.
Which is kind of the show that I'm doing right now, Childless Freak, is basically about that.
Whoa. Mm-hmm. Yeah, how... I want to get to Childless Freak.
Yeah, but we'll get there later.
Okay,
mm-hmm.
Cool. Just because now I'm thinking about...
I'll do it when you're talking.
Okay, perfect. I'm thinking about you in New York now, and you're 21, mm-hmm. and you're teaching...
High schoolers.
High schoolers.
And I was teaching like every grade, and I remember when I first started, I was teaching seniors, and some of them were 19 years old.
What? Mm-hmm. Did you feel wild being in there, being like, oh wow,
I thought I was losing my mind.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Every day was insane. And luckily the kids were like, oh, well, there's no way she's close to our age. That would be insane.
Yeah.
So they assumed, thank God, that I was in my 30s.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, this is crazy. We're truly like, some of us are 2 years apart.
Wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Do you feel like did it help you at all with in retrospect, working with audiences, or like a collaborative sense, or how to read a room, any of those skills?
Yes. It also, I think, being an English teacher really helped me. This is so granular, but when it comes to pitching comedic ideas, because I have learned how to think about how an audience understands something. So by teaching lessons, it taught me also for stand-up too, to be like, okay, how do I introduce an idea to an audience? How do I then like walk them to the resolution I'm building towards? And how do I like make sure that they are engaged in getting the right information step by step? And so that is particular to like lesson planning.
Yeah.
Really helped me later. Because the people management stuff, yes, but it's so different in the classroom. It's such a different environment.
Mm-hmm.
So more so I find, or maybe what I'm most surprised by is how, yeah, like the structure of a lesson applies to the structure of a stand-up set.
When you're mapping out a set or an idea, do you generally use the lesson plan structure? Like, is there an overlap there?
I think now it's kind of inherent, you know, so I'm not doing it as consciously, but I would say yes. Okay. Yeah, in that I'm like, okay, how do I first like introduce the idea, right? And then how do I give supporting details? And not everybody writes and performs this way, but I have found that that's something that I have held onto and has fused its way into my performance life.
That's pretty incredible. When you look back now, do you see the overlap of how each of these experiences has laid foundations or given you the skill set to get to where you are now?
Yeah.
What would you say is the strongest skill set that you've learned in an unexpected career or path?
Resilience. And I think teaching, especially at that age where I like knew nothing and was truly thrown in, and every day though was an opportunity to try again, and I could revise a lesson from the beginning of the day to the end of the day. So really learning editing and like the beauty of revision, where if you just stick with something and revise it, it at some point will be right and work.
Wow. Mm-hmm. So at this point you're working for Teach for America, and have you started taking classes at UCB?
So my grand plan was like, oh, teaching's going to be so easy. I'll be done at 4 p.m. and then, you know, I can do shows at night. And the first year, it was impossible. So I did nothing but teach. Because it was like I would come home, I would still have lesson plans, grading. It's truly 24/7, just working. But then by the end of the first year, I was like, okay, I think I can take an improv class on the weekend. Because there's no prep, you know, beforehand or after, you just show up. And so I started taking an improv class, this summer of after my first year, or maybe the spring of my first year teaching.
What year was that? Was it 2012?
It must have been 2011. Let's see, no, 2010.
2010.
2010. So I took my first improv class in 2010.
Whoa. How did it feel to take the improv class at UCB?
Awesome. And also it felt great because intro classes, if you've taken improv classes before, you're a rock star. I mean, it's almost unfair. Everyone's just like in awe and thinks you're God's gift to comedy, but you're like, nah, I just know these rules, you know? So it was such a like, also welcome win at a time where I felt I was just losing every day, you know, because these kids were like, you're a moron. And they were right. So it felt incredible. Only once I started like learning the specific like UCB system of like, and also the Herald, which is a very complicated improv form, then I was like, oh, actually I suck. But at that point I was like, I'm confident enough that if I just keep trying, I'll figure it out.
Yeah, again, returning to the resilience.
Yeah.
Wow. And would you go into the classroom and be like, that was kind of a good bit, I wish I could punch that up?
Always. Always. But also in between just like crying while eating my sandwich.
Yeah. I have a couple of friends who are teachers and it's really no joke.
Yeah.
Shout out to teachers.
Yeah, truly.
They should be paid more.
Yeah.
And so how long were you taking these UCB classes before you'd taken all of them? I mean, right?
Yeah, and because so there's like 4 core classes, 4 core improv classes, and then after that you can audition to be on a team. So I think, I forget how long it took, but maybe I think by 2012 I was on one of their house teams. Nice. So 2 years of classes. And then after that, once I was on their improv house team, I wanted to take sketch. So then I started taking all their sketch classes, which again is another like 4, each class is 8 weeks. And then once you start doing that, you also form indie teams, so it's just like outside of class. So then by, I think a year later, I was on their sketch team. And then, after that, I just kind of really threw myself into it.
Wow. And you found the balance point between teaching and being heavily involved.
Well, that was the tipping point, is I was teaching, and at that point I was on one of our sketch teams. And so I'm assuming the viewers know, but just in case. So like sketch is written, written comedy, like comedic scenes, and improv all made up. So because we were on a sketch team, that means I had lines I had to memorize. I was an actor on the team. So that means I had lines I had to memorize. And I think I was also writing at that point. I forget. But to rehearse the show, you could only do it when the theater was not operating. So that either meant you were coming in as a team and rehearsing during the day, or you were coming in after the shows were done. And so because I had a daytime job, and a lot of the people on the team did, we couldn't rehearse until 1 in the morning.
1 in the morning?
Yeah, because you'd have the theater had midnight shows.
Oh, whoa.
So you'd have to wait until 1 in the morning to rehearse your show, and you'd go until 3 in the morning.
Oh my gosh.
And then I would have to go home, and I would wake up at 6 in the morning.
Oh my god.
And I would teach a full day of high school. And I, at that point, had been teaching for 4 years, so I was like, much better.
Yeah.
But then, at that point, I also was once again starting to get bad because I just had no sleep.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, oh, I actually now know what it means to do a good job as a teacher, and I see myself doing a bad job now. And so that was enough of a push to be like, okay, well, I have to give up one of these things. And my passion is doing comedy, and that's what I moved here for. So that's when I quit teaching.
And then how did you make money? What did you do?
So then I tutored. Yeah.
Tutor.
So it was kind of an easy transition because I had a teaching degree. It was easier to get a job tutoring.
Wow. Cool. Yeah, it's funny because that also feels like a transition point too towards freelance work and being more freelance. So I'm thinking about, 2012 you do Lori, which is, were you a writer on Lori, right?
Wow, I'm like, you really dug deep. I can't believe it was 2012.
Wasn't it 2012?
I think you might be right, yeah.
Is that the case? I put the little, oh no, I'm wrong, 2014.
2014, okay. Yes, 2014, so, gosh, there's so many different, facets of UCB, and I have done all of them. So once I had done, the stage sketch teams, there was also this thing called UCB Digital. So that was, we would make comedy videos. And so one of these comedy series, we partnered with IFC, which I think still exists. But it was a very cool, indie TV network at the time. And they, bought this idea of this just psycho secretary who's just the worst at her job.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Did that feel like a success and a yes to the direction that you're going in?
Definitely. But, with it came, I think with everything which I have learned painfully, and I think most performers do, or people in the arts do, but every moment felt like this big break, and then it was great, but then ultimately didn't turn out to be the thing, because we loved making the series, and it turned out really well, and IFC really liked it in a way that it was oh, this could be something that turns into a TV show. Mm-hmm. And then ultimately, for whatever reason, it didn't happen, and so it was, released on YouTube, and we felt really proud, but it was another one of those things where it's oh, okay, we were building up to this giant thing that would change our lives, and ultimately, it didn't.
Do you think it's important to, have that sense of a dream, to still believe this could be big, or is the measured approach better?
I think that's a question I'm never going to know the answer to. I think that's going to be my struggle for my entire life. I have no idea. Because I think on one hand, it is really important to be excited about the potential of something. But on the other hand, I'm the joy should be in the process of the work as opposed to what that end product gets you. But then it's to really invest in something, you have to believe that it could be this amazing thing.
Right.
So I think it's just, that's a painful part of this career that's just going to be a part of it
Yeah.
forever.
Maybe a little yin and yang of both of those things.
Yeah, I think you need both.
Yeah. Then moving forward, you do Constitution, right?
Yes.
Constitution.
Wait, what was that?
That was a movie, and it was a movie about this person who had to, like the Constitution had been expired, and they had to rewrite the entire Constitution. The writing staff was huge.
What is this? I have no memory.
Really?
Yes.
You're credited.
Is it online somewhere? Who wrote it? Me?
You were part of the writing team. It was a huge writing team.
What was this?
It was a movie back in, I think this was also...
Was it UCB Sketchcraft?
2014. I think it was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, so this is a movie, but only like technically. So it's part of Sketchcram, which is, the movie was written in a day.
In a day?
Yeah.
Oh,
and it was,
whoa.
Right? It's like we all switched t-shirts in it, no?
I can't
You didn't
find
see
it. Yeah.
I'm pretty certain this was, so it's written in a day, which is everyone comes in, pitches on what the movie is, and then everyone gets a scene to write. And then everyone sends it in, and then you film it that day. It was just this, like, madness of a weekend.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Would you say that, how did that kind of influence your understanding of collaboration in this, like, tight, packed situation?
Well, I think starting from improv, collaboration was in my bones. The best way I create is with input and like building off of other people's ideas. So that was already in my bones. The like speed at which we made something, that made me realize like kind of anything is possible. As long as you're like, well, it's going to be an experiment, it's not going to be perfect, it's going to be rough around the edges, you can make something.